Hi, this is Matt from Tradesman Digital Marketing. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through negative keywords. I'm going to show you a tutorial on how to actually add them to your account, what the best practices are, how often you should optimize them, and why you should use them. And to start off, we're going to start off with why you should be using these. Negative keywords get rid of all of the keywords you don't want to appear for. So say you don't want to appear for HVAC tips and tricks. You can add that as a negative keyword. Your ad will no longer pop up for that, and you will no longer waste money on that, which is absolutely wonderful. And this should be done on an ongoing basis. So you should be optimizing at least once a week, making sure you're going into the account, looking at what keywords and search terms you're popping up for, finding the winners, getting rid of the losers, and adding them as negatives. And to start off, we're going to go into one of our old accounts. This was just something we were testing out with broad match and trying to optimize with AI. But it's a super old account. It brings back lots of memories. So we're going to go to our first campaign. We're going to hit our search campaign here. We're going to come down to keywords. And the first thing you see is all the actual keywords you're targeting. So this is just a good overview of all the keywords we're targeting: roofing advertising, digital advertising agencies, a whole bunch of stuff for an advertising agency. Now we're going to come down here to search terms. And this is really where all of the actual data and the terms people actually type in go. So if you have a keyword that says HVAC DIY tips and tricks, or sorry, HVAC repair, but then you actually have the search term, and the search term is HVAC repair DIY. Those two things are very different. One is a search term, what the person actually typed in, and the search keyword is what you're actually trying to advertise for. So they're two different things. So search terms are the things people actually typed in, and this is where you should be going to get your negatives. So as we can see here, there's a few already off the bat that you can see that we don't want to be marketing for or advertising for. Marketing company Japan is not something we want to be advertising for because we are in Canada. We're not in Japan. It makes no sense for us to advertise there, or advertise for that keyword, I should say, and we would get rid of it. Now, you can generally put keywords into one of two categories. One is they're a complete waste of money, don't spend money on them. And Marketing Company Japan is a good example of that. You don't need data to tell you this is a bad click, this is wasted money. You don't really need the data behind it. But then there's other ones that may or may not be useful. Now, Canada top marketing. That may or may not be useful if we're going after, marketing companies and we're trying to we're trying to advertise for people who are looking for marketing companies. This may be useful. So I would wait on this. I would look at, once it had about 10 clicks, see if there's any conversions. If there's no conversions, I get rid of it. If there was one, two, or three conversions, then I would start thinking about putting it into its own ad group and going from there. But you have to have enough data to actually say whether or not this is going to be useful. If you have 15 or 20 clicks and there's no conversions whatsoever, this is a bad keyword, get rid of it. And that's really how I think about keywords. There's the ones that are get rid of it right away, there's no use to this. And then there's the other ones of, okay, let's wait. It might be worth it, it might not. Look at what the data says. If the data says yes, add it to its own ad group. If the data says no, get rid of it. That being said, let's find something and add it to our negative keyword list. This is not English. We don't advertise to non-English speaking individuals because we don't speak any other language. So that's our reason there. Marketing tactics for online business, that's not really related. Driven Digital, that's a marketing company near us. Intrigue Media. And see, as you can see here, I can click on a whole bunch and then we can add it as either a keyword. So if they are, useful and profitable, we can add it as a keyword. But for this tutorial, we're adding them as negatives. So now you have three options. One is ad group, campaign, and negative lists on where you want to add these negative keywords to. The first one is an ad group. You can add it at the ad group level, and sometimes this is really useful if your ad groups are themed correctly. If they're not themed correctly, it's not going to be of much use because then your keywords will just trigger in another ad group and your ad will pop up anyways. So if your ad groups are really themed really strongly, you can do this. So if you had like HVAC or commercial HVAC as one ad group and then residential HVAC as another one, you could just add it to one ad group. But if you wanted to be absolutely sure that your negative isn't going to pop up anywhere in your campaign, you can just hit campaign. And this is the one we generally use most for. It's just at the campaign level because we don't want this ad negative keyword popping up for anything, and generally that covers all the bases. We don't have to worry about going into every single ad group and adding these negatives, which is really nice. But I mean, it's really up to your circumstance. If you want to add it at the ad group level, you can. If you want to add it at the campaign level, you also can. The third thing is the negative keyword list. Now, the negative keyword list is a third. It's an entity on itself, which essentially means just it's a separate thing. It doesn't actually add it to your actual account. It adds it to a list, which is held somewhere else. And as you can see, we don't have any negative keyword lists here. But if you wanted to add one, you can just enter in the name here, add it, and create a new negative keyword list, and then you can come back and check it at any other time. This could be useful if you were creating like a massive negative keyword list that you were going to apply to a whole bunch of campaigns or even ad groups, depending on what you wanted to do. But generally, we don't use them all that much just because we generally go in, we create a negative list based upon the account. So negative keyword list could be useful depending on where you're at. The final thing is the actual type of keyword. So if you're going to come in here, you're going to see the brackets behind around this word. This means it's exact match negative keyword. So what that means is this actual phrase will not, or sorry, this exact keyword. So if someone types this in Google, our ad will not pop up for that. But if they added an S or they added another word in this, uh, it would then pop up just because that exact match doesn't cover it. Now, if we wanted to get rid of this specific phrase in any type of search term, we can do that. So what we would do is we would put parentheses around it, and now it's known as phrase match. So this exact phrase will not pop up in any search term. So if it had this phrase plus Marketing Companies Canada at the end of it, our ad would not pop up, which is kind of nice. The next thing is broad match. So if we get rid of brackets around here, our negative keyword is now in broad match, meaning anything relevant to this is generally not going to pop up. There's a big difference between broad match in positive form and broad match negative form. Broad match positive form can literally pop up for anything. That's why we generally don't use them in search campaigns. But broad match negative is much more restrictive. It doesn't really cover everything. It does an okay job at finding most of the things relevant to that specific keyword and disabling your ad, making sure it doesn't pop up for it. But it's not nearly as comprehensive as the positive version of it. And Google kind of likes to keep it that way because they want you to pop up for as much stuff as possible because they want you to get clicks. That being said, we normally use we actually use a combination of all three depending on the actual keyword and how specific things are. Most of the time we'll use broad match just to cover all our bases, especially if the keyword has nothing to do with our account or business. Phrase match if it's a specific word we don't want to pop up for. An exact match if it's a very specific service or product. So if it, like for example, pools, we've seen like 16 by 32 pool installation, and we know that if they actually have the metrics beside it, it generally doesn't fare well in the account, so we don't add it. We would add that as an exact match. So it really depends on your circumstance and what you're going to be using the account for and what you want to see the results for, and what you don't want your ad to pop up for. Now, what we can do as we come down here, we're going to actually add this as a campaign level. We're going to hit save, and now our search terms have been added as negative keywords, and they are in a negative keyword list. And to access that, you go here into negative keywords, and you can see all of our negative keyword lists. And we have 109 in here. I think if you click on the next one, yep, this is all the stuff we just added. And it also shows you the level we added it at and the type, broad, phrase, exact match, which is all really nice. And it shows you exactly what you've added to the list. And sometimes you may make a mistake and add a negative keyword you didn't want to add. And all you have to do is you come back here, hit edit, and hit remove, and it will remove the keyword. And that's all you got to do. Also, you can change the keyword text or match type depending on if you wanted to just, maybe you wanted to add an S to it or add another word to it or change the match type. Very simple, very easy to do, and it is very, very useful. That being said, that's negatives as a whole. Very useful. Every campaign, especially for service-based businesses, should be using them on a regular basis. If you don't, you're going to burn a lot of money really quick. That being said, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, leave them down in the comment section down below. I'd be happy to answer them. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful day and take care.